Alright, today we are installing a front strut assembly on the Ford EF Fairmont, similar for many other models that have a MacPherson strut system. This one is the installed side. So we're going to use some spring compressors and we'll get this done. I'll also go into how to make sure your alignment is correct so you don't have to undo it and do it again, so you can get that bolt in easily. Yep, let's get to it. So quick tip, there are two different struts for this vehicle. So there's a left and right side. They differ in the position of the wheel speed sensor bracket. So on the right hand side, that is at the back like that. The left one will go with that bracket at the back like that. Alright, so we have a new strut we're going to put in this vehicle and a new spring. This is a standard height spring, so it won't change the ride height. I believe it sits pretty low anyway, so we'll keep that standard. So I've got a vise here on the floor. We're going to put the strut base into the vise to get a good working position. We're installing the bump stop. And the washer. So you want to have the spring on there and the end bit hitting the side panel fin, so you see how it's risen. So hit that bit there, have it all aligned. So you want the inner rubber piece of the mount and align the indent there with that. Right, so here's the important part. You want to align and make a mark of direct down the center of the strut. Put a line on the rubber piece. That way, when you compress the spring, it might compress unevenly and distort one side or the other side. So one side might look higher, and then when you mark it with the spring compressed, when you release the tension, it'll throw your alignment out of whack. So do it first, uncompressed, with the rubber mount. So get like a permanent marker, find the middle, just make a mark right like that. Just make a mark where the middle is. It doesn't have to be perfect, as when you bolt it in, when you bolt in the shock to the lower control arm, it'll apply pressure and push it where it needs to go, so they'll make it exact, but just have a rough mark. So now we're using these spring compressors. They're just a bolt with two ends, so we're going to use one on each end, and we're going to compress the spring down until we can see the strut pop through, so we have enough room to put on the top mount. So we have both on. Opposite each other. Now we just drill and go like alternate between the two until you see that strut tower coming out a little bit. Alright, so I've compressed the spring enough that the strut now pokes through. Now we can assemble the top mount. So now we're adding our metal top piece, and remember that mark we made? Align one of the studs with that mark. So I'm going to go to one of these studs right on that mark and then put it up. Some grease on this bushing, also a bit around the rim there. This goes this side down like that on the washer, and then your lock nut goes on there. Now you slowly release the compressors so you can get tension to tighten that down that bolt. The compressors are off, nut is on, and as you can see, the trick worked. That stud is aligned beautifully in line with that. Here's above. I'll torque down the bolt later, but yeah, so everything's in place. There it is, bolts in. I'll torque it at right height, but springs are in.